when I started playing Dragon Age as a teenager, to piss me off, my dad would call Dragon Age Age of the Dragons. And whenever I show Dragon Age anything on my stream, my dad texts me and say, "Oh, I saw you're looking at the Age of the Dragons on your stream." There you go. Let me know if the audio is good. For your convenience, we have edited this 4-part series into a single standalone video. Is the audio good? This is an introduction to high-level combat. Footage has been edited for brevity and to avoid major spoilers. Weishaupt Fortress is under attack from Gillenane and her archdemon. Oh, Hook and the Veilguard must stop it. Let's get your warrior ready for battle. Ooh. I actually like the inventory. It kind of reminds me of Inquisition. So it's very pretty. So you can only wear one weapon at once. I kind of like when RPGs they give you two choices for weapons, especially if you're using a melee class. I like having like a ranged and a melee weapon if I can swap between them. But it does look great. Like you can have 2 rings. What's this? Earring, a bracelet, a necklace. You can hide. Oh, you can hide both your helmet and your armor, so you can be fully naked if you want, kind of like Baldur's Gate. Looks good. Wait. Driving kick. Okay. Oh, those are runes, so I assume those are passives that you can use. And is the game too loud? All of your weapon attacks deal fire damage. That's actually really cool. It's a bit loud. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I like the inventory. It looks pretty. Hold on. That's a lot of information. Did I go far? Okay. Okay, that's a lot of actually. I assume those are passives. Abilities. I assume that those are only passive abilities? Or do you think you also unlock skills here? It maybe it's both. It honestly makes sense that it's both. It's likely that some of these symbols, like for example, you see those are probably like skills, different skills that you unlock, and the things around them that are a little bit smaller are modifiers to those skills. So let's say this is a skill, and then this and this affects that skill. And this is just related, but in a not too common way. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how they had in Dragon Age 2. Synchros, thank you so much. Thank you. Each combat class has an array of specializations to choose from. Oh, okay, so this is a different specialization. I assume in different corners of that skill tree, you can reach specializations. Okay, cool. I think there is 3 specializations for each class. Utilizing passive abilities like heavy armor mastery will help boost defense. Okay. We are going to be battling Darkspawn, so they are vulnerable to fire. Fire Resolve will grant us flaming weapons. Okay. We'll be doing a deep dive on our progression systems in the future. So I assume Darkspawn also does the necrotic damage. So they are wearing out necrotic damage. Is the music still loud or no? They're wearing out necrotic damage resistance. Yeah. Okay. That's right here. Cool. This seems to be... Oh, so there's a limit of burning stacks you can get? Okay, cool. That's actually a very cool ring. Okay. Oh, so you can... Okay. So your companions, you have less customization, but you can still customize their weapon, armor, an offhand weapon? So your companions can wear 2 weapons, but you can't. Panic? Hold on. Sword and board monster. Oh, this is how you equip your companions. It honestly looks pretty good. I know some people are against purple colors, but purple has been a theme color of Dragon Age since they start. Like there has always been a lot of purple. And purple is also the color of Tinky Winky. And Tinky Winky is like very easy to lust towards you. That's also why like dildos and stuff like that, you know, sex toys are usually purple. So it's a good color. That's how I'm saying. In addition to Darwin, you decide to take Lucanis into battle based on his crowd control abilities. What? Okay, cool. Wait, sorry. The basics. Now that Hook and Dravin and Lucanis have the right gear and skills, the team set off to find their allies. Soon they're met with resistance by the Darkspawn, blighted creatures following the blah 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 blah. Dragon. First, learn the enemy types to strategically exploit their weakness. Darkspawn are vulnerable to fire. Combo opportunity. Wait. The game auto does combos for you? So, what does this combo opportunity mean? Like in Mass Effect? Oh, so they all just went and... So, the combat does freeze when you open the menu to use your skills. That's actually really cool. Oh, the parry was really nice. The dodge roll. Honestly, this looks great. Hold on. With the successful parry, the Fire Resolve passive skill activates flaming weapons. Melee attacks will now do fire damage instead of physical. It's actually pretty cool. And you can push enemies off? Okay, I like it. I like it. I love shoving enemies off the cliff. High five! I really like that. I love eating shit. How do I say this? I really like the idea that you can tell your teammates to use different spells and also get yourself to use different spells, and like if the combat is a very tight situation, I feel like that, and if you're playing the game in very hard, I feel like that could come in handy. But at the same time, I wish I wasn't limited to such a few number of skills, because then you can just be more creative with mix and matching stuff. But they probably did that for a reason, or characters would be too strong. Did she just stab his crotch? Hold on. You have mastered your core abilities. Now it's time to face down variety of enemies all at once. Okay. Okay, so overwhelmed is kind of like a stun? That was a pretty parry, but I feel like it was 2 hits at once. Honestly, I feel like they are doing this in a very high difficulty. Because they're being very careful. Yeah, I like the dodges too. I honestly like it. It looks fun. But again, I don't know. I need to try. But it looks a lot better than the level 1 gameplay. That's for sure. Yeah, the combat seems like very dynamic, but at the same time, if you use the right skills from your teammates at the right time, you might be able to do some cool stuff. It's like they're really trying to give like to bring some strategy to besides the only button smashing from the active combat, and it looks good. You can pull and knock. How come they didn't aim to throw the enemy down there? Maybe it's a fake cliff. As your fight progresses, use primers, detonators, and ultimates with strategic timing to turn the tide of the battle. Yeah, I know. Again, I'm not trying to compare this game with the other Dragon Ages right now. I'm just seeing what this game does. So we are about to get hit by that. Will they taunt the enemy as they're getting hit? Does that stop the enemy from doing attacks? What? Yeah, the music is nice. And the pull? The dodge feels really smooth. So even with the warrior... Wait. Oh, so they're pulling them together and AoE and cleaving them. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. So basically what they were doing there was like making sure that the warrior taunted the enemies, so the enemies would be closer to the warrior, and then they used some abilities from the teammates to pull the enemies more together, and then AoE them all, and the warrior sword range could also cleave the enemies. So that's why they use all these skills there. Yeah. And look at that. There is a barrel of fire there. Can you just hit the barrel of fire and they explode? There's a bunch of barrels nearby. wonder if you can take those barrels and throw them. Yeah, they did. They did explode the barrels. But I wonder if you can actually move them. Those enemies, they look beefy as fuck. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. They don't seem to do a lot of damage, but they just seem very high health. Okay, now they are stunned. There's a lot of crowd control abilities. Why would they explode those barrels when nobody was there? Panic. Can you pause? That's honestly pretty good. That looks pretty good. What do you guys think? That looks better. That looks so much better than the first one that they showed. It does look fun. It looks like, again, the enemies looked a little bit beefy. I do hope that higher difficulties of the game, the AI of the enemies are more complex and not just that they have more health and damage, because I find that's the kind of difficulty that just, I find, I don't know, lazy? An interesting difficulty? So I do hope that the different difficulties actually change the enemy behavior, because, you know, that's kind of the reason why I like playing honor mode. I like that the honor mode, the enemies, they have unique skills and different stuff, you know? It's not just more health and stuff than tactician. The combat really does look really good, and it looks a lot better than it looked before. It's nice to see a window with all the skills filled instead of just having blank stuff.
I feel old. 16 months is life.
Hey, Unclean Puppy, thank you. Thank you so much for the 16 months. May the bunnies right here. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. Yeah, no. I actually can see a lot of similarities between not only the previous Dragon Ages, but imagine if Dragon Age and Mass Effect had sex in their combat. Well, in everything. And now they're kind of this game is kind of like their baby, right? It does feel like that. It does feel like BioWare, but BioWare has been doing that since Dragon Age 2.
As long as you enjoy the game.
Dimash, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 9 months. Thank you. So BioWare has been trying to make both Mass Effect and Dragon Age to be more like one another since Dragon Age 2. And I feel like this Dragon Age is the most Mass Effect Dragon Age, but at the same time, BioWare is the same company. It's hard for you to expect the same company that makes RPGs that are story-based, and at the same time, they're both focused on companions, and basically, the biggest difference between Mass Effect and Dragon Age at this point is that one is fantasy and the other is space. Does that make sense? So, you can't really expect the same games from the same company to be that different. So, yeah. Yeah, so how do I feel about the UI? Tatsuka, I'll be honest with you. It's hard for me to comment on the UI without using it. And UI, it's something that, I'll be honest with you, the Baldur's Gate, let's talk about Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate UI, I would say, is the weakest part of the game. And I say this with love, because everything else in Baldur's Gate is just very good. And the UI is definitely where the game has, even then, that's not a big deal. I don't know a single person who ever said, oh yeah, Mass Effect is my favorite game ever because the UI is so good. People say that something is their favorite game ever if the story is good, if the combat is good, if both of the above is good, but never because the inventory and the UI of the game is good. So I feel like the UI and the stuff, it needs to be at least usable, and it seems usable. So I feel like lingering and thinking too much about the AI, because ultimately I will only know if the UI is good or bad when I'm trying to use it. When I'm trying to do different things in the combat, if it comes in my way or if it makes it easier for me. How it looks is honestly irrelevant. It just doesn't make sense. In fact, I would say that UI is the kind of thing that the less that it's there, the better. So, just like Inquisition, you have a limited number of healing. So you have 3 healings that you can heal. Apparently, you can swap your weapons. You see by the side of the healing, there is like, they're playing with a controller. I wonder how mouse and keyboard will feel. Or if this game is like, requires you to play with a controller. But you see over here? Apparently, you can equip other weapons. At least that's what it feels like. Because down, it seems to be sword and shield. But then there is other directions that you can press. The game doesn't look old, you guys. Listen, I find that the characters themselves, they're definitely stylized. Zenori said something that I thought that he was right on point. The characters and the style of the beings in this game, they remind me of Dishonored. They are not meant to be realistic. They're meant to be stylized. And I know that's new. Dragon Age usually went for more realistic graphics, but Dishonored is a very loved game. And I find that the environmental aspects of this game, they look absolutely gorgeous. Like the environment, the scenes, the places, 10 out of 10. I love that you can push things off. That's honestly more freedom than you ever had in the combat of Dragon Age. In fact, I would say that the combat of Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they both have been pretty like, you have been pretty limited with your options. Very few people would say that those are their favorite games solely because of, you know, the how you can do with the enemies. Maybe in Mass Effect 3 or something like that, and Dragon Age Origins. But besides those 2 specific games, I feel like most people were not looking for that. When it comes to combat, again, from this video, it seems like BioWare has grown. Because it's useless for you to compare BioWare with other companies. You need to compare BioWare with their previous work. And it does seem to be, like BioWare had very like, now apparently you can dodge better. BioWare seems to have grown when it comes to combat. Yeah. Okay. Any concerns? Any thoughts? Anything? I like it. Again, I like it better than what I've seen before. I still don't know how it feels. I don't know how it is to use this, because one thing is watching somebody play something, other thing is playing it. Like, for example, the combat of The Witcher 3 looks pretty good, but I would say that the combat of The Witcher 3 is the worst part of that game. However, in Cyberpunk, CDPR did a lot better in the combat, and the combat of Cyberpunk is so good. So, and again, when you look at the combat in The Witcher 3, it looks really good, but it feels weird. So I don't know how the combat feels from this, but from what they have shown, it looks like there's a lot more to it than it seemed before. So it does seem like there is some strategy element, and it does seem that there is a lot of action. Here's the question, though. It seems like they're trying to appease two different kinds of people. Except, I guess, there's few people like me. I personally like both types of gameplay. I like both the strategy combat. In fact, I would say I would prefer that now, because a lot of games have a lot of very active combat, and that kind of combat I just feel like is very common and feels a little bit overdone. It's like everywhere. So a good strategy combat is something that I really value, because it's less common. And I also have lots of fun with it. And this game is trying to get people from two different worlds to be happy. And I don't think you can make everybody happy. Yeah, we'll be playing Baldur's Gate. We're just looking at this because it was 2 days ago. But again, Lava Moza, apparently you can be very malleable with your skills and builds in this game. So if it's something that Dragon Age you can adapt before the fights and before the encounters, especially because this is a mission-based game. So if you know the types of enemies you encounter, you can plan for that, you can prepare for that. It seems that maybe this game is not going to be very repetitive. And that's good. Those of you who saying that this looks like a mobile game, have you ever played a mobile game? I don't understand. I honestly don't know how you see that. There's a lot of colors, yes, but you need to understand, this is Tevinter. Tevinter where's magic and shit is everywhere. It really doesn't look like a mobile game. I can't see that. Like, the animations of the monsters are pretty good. Look, when you hit the enemies, they actually react to being hit. They stagger back. They do. You can't do that in mobile. The textures are also way too good to be mobile game. Can you please tell me where the mobile game comes from? Because I just don't see it. In the UI? Can we just be honest with ourselves? If I remember correctly, UI elements in most Dragon Age games, people mod. I have been modding the UI of Dragon Age Origins since forever. And it definitely looks more like console. It looks like they were trying to make this game to be played more with a controller rather than mouse and keyboard. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like a mobile. Mobile, you just touch stuff. Consoles are not just big mobiles. Like, what kind of that? And here's the thing, though. Doesn't look that bad. I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that it doesn't look great. I feel like it would be better if it would take less space, because I feel like there's just a lot of buttons everywhere, and I just prefer minimalistic UIs, or I prefer UIs that are centered in a certain spot. But honestly, this UI is great for me to stream. Like, you see, right now, my camera is not covering anything. So from a streaming perspective, this UI is perfect. I like the UIs when they're concentrated on the bottom, because then I don't block anything. There is no mini-map. Okay, if you're trying to compare Dragon Age with Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like if you're trying to compare any game with Baldur's Gate 3, you're just setting yourself for disappointment. And that's honestly, you're the biggest loser in this situation, because yes, Baldur's Gate's my favorite game. I love Baldur's Gate. But if I compare everything to Baldur's Gate 3, I'm just going to be sad and miserable, because not everything can be Baldur's Gate 3. And in fact, if everything was Baldur's Gate 3, Baldur's Gate 3 wouldn't be special. It wouldn't be what it is. It is what it is because it's its own thing. So you need to play and you need to expect other games from what they offer you. So I wouldn't even compare XCOM with Baldur's Gate 3. I loved XCOM, and I think a lot of people that like XCOM, they would love Baldur's Gate 3 and vice versa. But like XCOM, it has a much less focus on like story. And if you're a more story person, I feel like maybe XCOM is not so much for you. And Baldur's Gate is just more your thing. It really depends on what you like in each game.